Hello, and you're all very welcome along to the latest Champ.ie Podcast, Ireland's premier horse racing podcast in association with Boylesports, Gorham Park Racecourse, EJ Menswear and Shamrock Thoroughbreds.
As they race up the hill towards the finish, Hart the Herald here on Pass has absolutely bolted up under Paul Townend. Pass won by wide margin. On the final 150 yards, it's Irish point for Marie National, who's coming with every stride. They're going to the line. Irish point, Marie National on the near side.
If you haven't already, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Champ.ie YouTube channel, as it helps to get horse racing content out there to the wider audience. We look forward to reading all your hashtag 5cast selections in the comments section below. Enjoy the show.
Boylesports. Don't just bet, choose wisely.
Hello, and you're all very welcome along to Season 6, Episode 8 of Champ.ie. Well, it's another busy weekend with Fairyhouse, Newbury, Newcastle on the show to preview some of the big races from there this weekend. Our featured guest on the show, of course, this week is going to be Darragh O'Keeffe, who's been on the crest of a wave, banging in the winners in the last couple of weeks. And we've also going to catch up with Stephen Thorne of Shamrock Thoroughbreds later on. He's got a couple of runners to update us on tomorrow night at Dundalk. We'll be hearing from Diarmuid Nolan, of course, on the Racehour Podcast. He's with us, our special guest this week on Champ.ie. And Diarmo, I believe you're a Kerry man lost in the heart of County Wicklow.
I most certainly am, unfortunately, yeah. But look, all is good. I always miss the motherland like we all do. But, you know, we think we make up for with our, you know, all our nonsense, thank God.
Absolutely. Well, it's great to have you on the show this week, of course, brought to you in association with Gorham Park Racecourse, EJ Menswear, and we'll be hearing from EJ Menswear as well, with, of course, Black Friday coming up. He's going to have some super offers for us. We've got in there as well, Boylesports, our betting partner, and Shamrock Thoroughbreds, of course. Looking at the races this week, we're looking at the Fighting Fifth Hurdle, the Grade 1 at Newcastle, the Rehearsal Handicap Chase, the Premier Handicap at Newcastle. Also, we're going to look at 3 races from Newbury on the show this week. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the lads' thoughts on the big races. Yes, well, we've got a cracking opening race to look at this weekend for you. Of course, it's the Fighting Fifth Hurdle. It's A versus B in the minds of many, Diarmuid Nolan. Will it be A or will it be B?
It is an absolute cracker, those front two. You couldn't be happier to have them here. Mystical Power is a proper test of the Supreme form. Sergino is a proper test of the 4-year-old form. I'm leaning towards the kind of 4-year-old form here. Tony Keenan, he said in our show that the 4-year-olds from last season do look particularly strong. We've had Cala Conti, we've had Nürburgring, we've had all these horses kind of come out. Dave won. He hammered Burdett Road last season, and Burdett Road obviously won a Grey Wood there as well. Sergino also last year, right in the midst of all the problems down there in Nicky Henderson's, he was able to kind of go to Aintree then and beat Cargacey, who backed up that form afterwards at Punchestown. So he's a serious horse. Mystical Power, I said in my article this week that he's really underestimated. He improved kind of with everyone last season. He is bred regally, and he could be something very special. But I do think that, even forgetting that kind of that piece of work, I just think that Sergino is the kind of horse here now who could be something special. The 4-year-olds have looked a very good bunch. To my eye, him and Majborough are a good deal, the kind of best two. And just on that line, through what Burdett Road did at Cheltenham a few weeks ago, while I respect Mystical Power, I do feel he'll have an awful lot to do here to catch Sergino.
Barry?
Yeah, no, look, Dave, you can talk about work till the cows come home, but I suppose what he's done on the track so far and the rating he's achieved last year over hurdles. I mean, to me, the juvenile form as a whole last year, to me, it looks stronger than the Supreme Novice Hurdle form and the Novice form overall. Just looking, I suppose, at the Supreme itself, it is probably a little bit too early to be picking holes. But if you look at the form, I mean, Slade Steele's been beaten on his chasing debut. Mr. Gift got turned over by Gorgeous Tom, who's, you know, rated in the 130s over hurdles last season at Punchestown, and he was wrong at the weights. And look at I suppose, you know, Dermot's mentioned it, Burdett Road, you know, he's really franked the form, obviously winning the Great Wood Hurdle for Sergino. So he's beaten him. He's absolutely hammered him last year by 11 lengths. 4-year-olds stepping up into open company the following season, into that champion hurdle division. Look, lots has been made about it. He's unbeaten. Nicky Henderson, this is very much a home match for him up in Newcastle. The Fighting 50s landed 6 of the last 10. Look, Sergino's rated 152, Mystical Powers 154. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this, Sergino's rated a nice little bit ahead of him. So,
Diarmuid, if I could just come back to you on it, let's just look at Mystical Power, because I find this one of the most intriguing races of the week, and we've really the 2 horses we're concentrating on here. But Mystical Power, summarize him for me. And okay, Willie has said that his runners need the run, etc., etc., etc. But I think you can be damn sure that he's pretty forward for this assignment on Saturday. What do you think?
I would think so, definitely. I kind of had half a feeling as well that that Willie likes to run a few horses like this as well to kind of test the water over in England too. As in, he wouldn't be sending State Man to this now, like this lad. But the one thing is, the reason why I said in my article that he doesn't seem to be kind of respected is that he was a big raw yoke. He got the Cheltenham last season. He improved massively. He kind of got unlucky in that I think if Mark Walsh had a go again, he might have hung on to him a little bit longer because he got that pace. He went by Slade Steele, but then he let Slade Steele get back at him again. And then he improved into Aintree and again into Punchestown. So he's a horse that needs a hell of a lot of respect. He's a horse who improved massively. His breeding is out of this world. So definitely this is a real test. But the one thing as well that was kind of painted in our podcast by Tony Keenan is that the 4-year-olds have had a hell of a start as well to this season. They're kind of winning all around them. And Sergino he was the best of them by a mile. So as much as Mystical Power winning wouldn't shock me in the slightest, Sergino, though, to me, he just represents a strong division and he could well be the best of them as well, which is, is kind of saying a lot. He also buried Cargasi last season and she looks a superstar as well. So,
right, let's move on, Barry. Going to come to you on the 320, of course, which is the 2 mile 7 furlongs rehearsal handicap chase, the big Premier handicap at Newcastle on Saturday.
Yeah, fascinating. I think that the Changing Man goes north. A sole, I suppose, representative for the Tizzards and Brendan Powell. I think it's his only ride as well on Saturday, unless it's changed since I've seen the decks. But the Tizzards at the moment absolutely flying at 30% strike rate. And the Badger Beer, the Badger Beer handicap is always a good, solid 3 mile handicap every single season at Wincanton. And they certainly didn't hang about. He went off favourite 3-1, jumped well. I suppose his jumping is better than what his bare form suggests, David. He's unseated and he's fell in his career from, I think, 6 starts and yet to get his head in front over fences. I just think there's going to be more to come from this horse over fences. He's 2 pounds lower over fences than his hurdles mark of 132. And as I said, he was going well before coming down. Just made a bad mistake. And it's just interesting that they go north here. The ground will obviously be in his favour. He seems to be versatile in terms of ground. Could actually be better on nicer ground. And it wasn't too long ago, back last November, that he split Stay Away Faye and Grey Dawning. And people are talking about Grey Dawning as a Gold Cup horse. Obviously, a lot of water has gone under the bridge since then. I just think he could be well handicapped, and he would be one of my better bets on Saturday at 5-1. I could see a right old plunge on him again. And I quite like the chances of the Changing Man for a stable, very much in form. It's not too often they send one as well up to Newcastle.
Yeah, it's a very, very nice race with the 13 runners Diarmuid inside in this one. Donny Boy, I thought, was another interesting runner. Bruce Lynn's mount in that race. For you, though, what do you like?
Yeah, the Changing Man links very closely in with my pick. I like Gustavian here. I thought Gustavian was also going very well when the Changing Man actually pretty much stopped his run there at the 16th. The Changing Man was definitely going well, but so was Gustavian, and they got their tactics wrong that day. They were trying to really sneak into the race from the back, but nobody was catching Al Dancer that day, really. But once the Changing Man came down at that 16 fence, he pretty much stopped Gustavian, completely stopped him. He couldn't keep going. He had to then basically start again from a standing position. He ran on to third, was a real eye catcher, and at 12-1. I thought there now that he's a bit of value in what is an absolutely cracking renewal, but I just thought at 12-1 now, if they don't do those overexerted holding tactics and get themselves a little bit closer, I think there is a big race in him.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Donny Boy, I think for me, will run a big race in this one. Bruce Lynn's mounting around the 13-2 chance in that contest. Right, that is our opening 2 races looked at on the show this week. We're going to head in and hear from EJ Menswear. They've got a few deals coming up with Black Friday on the way.
How's things, folks? Vinny here at EJ Menswear and EJMenswear.com, jumping on to remind you that our 20% Black Friday sale is still live in store and online as well. But I'm here to talk to you about our winter coats, our wool coats in specific. 20% off the Remus Umo Jonah jacket. I have a grey on here on me, a 38 I'm wearing as well, just for size reference. But they're €320 retailing, down to €256 now. So there's no better time to check it out, especially with that icy, frosty weather that we've got here in Sligo and possibly other parts of the country as well. If you're going out for a couple of pints with the lads and you want to dress a little smarter, coming up into the festive season, check out the wool coat. I've got a couple of different colours in it as well from Remus. That green there is a really nice shade. It has been absolutely flying out for us this week as well, especially with the discount. There's no better time. So if you're thinking of a gift for himself, a really special gift, the wool coat is brilliant around this time of year. Always flies out as well. A couple of different brands for you to think of as well. Bugatti, Remus Umo, Daniel Graham, Douglas and more. So check it out online at ejmenswear.com, open 24/7 from the comfort of your own couch, or pop into us here in Sligo, EJ Menswear on Grattan Street. Also open every Sunday and Monday from now until Christmas.
Top man, Vinny, and EJ Menswear were down there a couple of weeks ago. We were well looked after, Barry, and great team down there, and wish them the very best luck with their Black Friday this week.
Yeah, of course, the winter bundle, Dave, as well as the Taylor bundle, which we're wearing here. Now, a bit of a row with Vinny. I didn't like the pink shirt originally, but then he told me it looked like Richie and maybe support Lossiemouth. So ahead of the weekend, Dave, that's where we're wearing the pink. So yeah, we'll move on. nicely
linked in there, Barry. Yes, we're moving. We're moving on to our third race that we're going to look at, which is the 154, 2.5 mile handicap hurdle. This is a Class 2, Diarmuid. What do we like here?
This is a serious race. This race has been dominated now over the last 8-9 years or so by Nichols, Henderson and Skelton. They've won it twice each. No shock to see them all really, really strong here. Impose Trois is a very good horse. Hard to know how good though. And sometimes the green and gold can just put the old jitters up the bookies and everybody else. And, you know, you can kind of have a horse much shorter here. Also, it's hard to know whether this horse might have a bigger target in mind. I just would be happy enough now to swerve him despite Nicky Henderson's really strong record here. I really like In the Water side for Paul Nichols. This horse last season was a brilliant third at Aintree, cracking third there. He said lately as well that this horse was very stuffy. He's had a breeding operation over the summer. So this horse now, he comes in here. I would not be surprised at all if he was a good bit better than this mark. And kind of, you know, like a mark 132 here, that mightn't kind of meet now where he actually is. And he'd be one of my more confident bets now of the weekend. And one outsider as well, just to keep an eye on as well, as Issam, who was very unlucky last time, 14-1 or so. He could be one there now for a forecast. But I'd be quite confident now in the Nichols runner here.
Lovely. Barry, any harm in asking for John Joe O'Neill Jr. and Senior had a nice run last time, and another to consider maybe in this race. But I'd like to know your thoughts on what do you like in this one?
Yeah, well, I had to stop myself there putting up a John Joe horse. Don't have the best record when tipping a John Joe O'Neill horse, but I think this, any harm in asking, I don't know, did you read the notes? But look, 10-1 looked a fair each way price to me. I could see this going off certainly single figures, and there could be a plunge on it. Look, it's been well documented. He's the only horse, David, to have beaten Constitution Hill in his entire career. That obviously was in a point-to-point. A lot of water has gone under the bridge since then as well. But look, he clearly has talent there. But I mean, like, he's 135 rated. Any harm in asking? I think there could be certainly scope off that mark. I mean, 2.5 miles on decent ground seems to be the type of race scenario that he wants. And look, he's a nice racing weight here as well. I thought he was a real eye catcher at Cheltenham last time when he was third. Cheek pieces were on for the first time at Cheltenham. He had his ground.
Yard is flying as well, isn't it? Yard is belting along. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly is. And look, I suppose, I think he's probably entitled to come on for his debut run. You often see that with John Joes as well. You know, they do take a run. And I just think, look, conditions will suit. He was second in this race last year, and look at the form from Cheltenham as well. Why not? Was the winner at Cheltenham last time as well. And he's since come out and run well at the November meeting. Obviously, he was only beaten 6 lengths behind the ultra well handicapped Hamasayan. So for Tony Martin. So that form to me looks good recent form. And look, at 10-1, I got a chance him each way. going against a couple of rules here, tipping a John Joe horse at any stage in any race in the season, Dave. But 10-1, I'm going to chance him.
Lovely. That's perfect. Right, let's move on because we're going to look next to the 225 Barry at Newbury. This is the Class 1 handicap hurdle over 2 miles.
Yes, over 2. I muted myself, Dave. And look, it's a race, Dave, that I think there could be one very well treated right down the bottom of the weights here. And the horse is called Excelero for Jane Williams, should I say. 9-1 in the market. There has been nibbles of support. Handicap debutant. Running off 120. This could be absolutely thrown in. I mean, he was 4th of 7 behind Sergino and Burdett Row. That was at Cheltenham back in January. Likely race sort. Held up, came from off the pace on that occasion, and I thought made nice headway. Really caught the eye coming to 5 out. Travelled nicely in the race, and look, obviously he's well down in class here. He was only beaten 11 lengths on that occasion, but look at his debut effort. I mean, this horse I think has a lot more talent than what his rating suggests. 120 he's rated. Salver's running off top weight here, and he's rated 23 pounds higher. And they were racing off levels on Excelero's debut, and he was only beaten 2 lengths by him. So I think he could be very well treated. And look, 9-1. He's only carrying 10 stone 5. There's been 3 4-year-old winners of this race in the last 10 seasons. I think Excelero is one that could go under the radar. And at 9-1 each way, he would be one of my stronger each way fancies of the weekend, Dave.
Yeah, well, to all of you out there, of course, don't forget to put in your 5-cast selections down below and subscribe as well to Champ.ie. Liari here, Dermot. I'd like your thoughts on him. Paul Nicholls' runner. Thought it's an interesting runner. I thought there was lots to like about the run at Chepstow the last time. And I thought that's another that could have a very big chance in this race.
Yeah, big fan of him here as well. I thought that the fact that he was punted so strong in the Fred Winter, to go off 7-2 in the Fred Winter is some going. Paul Nicholls said that he was as good as any horse that he ever had for that race. Now, I know Paul Nicholls can be full of hot air at times, but still, I kind of like when he's bullish about one like that. Also, what I really like, as well as that last time, was kind of soft enough in the market, took his run, read through his stable tour, and Paul Nicholls said he badly needed that. This looks like it has been an early season target. And we've seen these Paul Nicholls horses like this, a mark of 130. The horse that's wrecking my head in this race has been Jericho de Repine, in that if he is as good as he looked at times last season, and even on a line through his beating of Lump Sum last year, he could pick these up and carry them all on his back. But that was just such a fiasco last time over fences. Nicky Henderson has said that he wants him kind of, he wants a bit of confidence back in him. But he's been the real sore one, because you could just see a scenario where he kicks away and wins by 8-9 lengths. And, he's absolutely buried them and he goes back over fences. I respect it, Excelero here, but I, just like you now as well, Dave, I do think Liari, just that Fred Winter market alone, that run last time, he comes in here fit. And for Paul Nicholls, who I obviously fancy for a good weekend, I'd be quite confident now on him as well.
And I think it's noteworthy as well, isn't it? Paul Nicholls' horses this season, for the first run, have improved quite a lot. You've seen a lot of these horses run well, second and third, and they've come out then and they've franked that form and won very nicely. So really think that's an interesting one in that race. Right, yeah. Final race we're going to look at, which is one of the 5-cast races this week on Champ.ie. It's the 3 mile, 2 furlong Coral Gold Cup Premier Handicap, Barry. And I'm going to start off with you because you've got some very interesting stats to kick us into this race.
Yeah, look, you'll hear lots of them being thrown around, Dave. Look, they can just be helpful and little pointers for the sort of horse or profile that you need for the race. 8 of the last 10 Hennessy, I'm going to call it the Hennessy, I'm a traditionalist, Dave. 8 of the last 10 Hennessy winners have actually had a prep run. I quite fancy the horse a couple of seasons ago for the Racehour counter, and similar to the one I like this time round, ridden by the same jockey, spoiler alert, and also has had a prep run over hurdles. 1 of the last 10 winners, age 9, are over, so tends to favour those kind of second season novices, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, horses that, there could be a lot more to come and a lot of upside with them. And only 1 of the last 10 winners have actually carried more than 11 stone 4. So there doesn't look to be a superstar in this year's Hennessy, to my mind, Dave. And look, I suppose looking at the market itself, obviously we'll be hearing from Darragh O'Keeffe in a couple of moments. He's quite keen on the chances of Senior Chief. He was very, very good and an interesting runner, but he's gone up £9 officially the British handicapper has given him a fair hike for last time. Broadway Boy, I think Newbury could be absolutely tailor-made for Broadway Boy at his best. I mean, he carried a big weight to win some nice handicaps early last season. He's had a prep run and is obviously on better terms. So of those with, towards the top of the market, he'd be one certainly that would definitely be of interest. But I really like the profile in the race of Henry's Friend. Ben Pauling, look, I suppose last season wasn't going to run the horse in the National Hunt Chase after winning the Grade 2, the Rendlestown. Showed a really good attitude at Ascot and quite a quick turnaround. We see that every single season from Ascot to Cheltenham. Horses can bounce or run below par at the festival. He ran in the National Hunt Chase. I think he pulled up pretty early on, so I don't think he would have had a grueler. This has obviously been his target. Lightly weighted, lovely profile for the race. He's only 7 years of age and he's 3 from 5 over fences. I think he's a lot of the right attributes. He's obviously won at Newbury in the past, and Ben Jones knows how to win the race. Obviously won on board the Racehour Counter. So it's very much a home venue for Ben Pauling. He has said, he's made it known that this horse is his best chance he's had in the race. And obviously he had I think Shake 'em Up Harry ran well in the race last year, the year before. So to me, Henry's Friend, 12-1 each way, a nice race in weight. He looks to me to have a lovely profile, and I think he's overpriced at the moment.
Diarmuid, just on this one, Senior Chief Henry de Bromhead, we spoke that his team is in tremendous form. There was plenty to like about that win, wasn't there, at Cheltenham last time out? Could there be further more to come from Senior Chief, or are you looking elsewhere in the race?
It was a brilliant performance, really, really good. And like a typical Henry horse, he just jumps his fences so beautifully, as in like they're just, whatever they kind of manage down there, all their horses just kind of jump a fence so well. There could be more to come, but 11 stone 11, it's a fair whack he took. Now, he obviously has his chance because of the fact that there's no superstar here. It's a fairly compact field anyway. So, that weight mightn't kill him too much, but it's just a fair whack now in here. I'm quite fond of a 20-1 shot here in Grandero Bello. I thought that performance last time at Galway was absolutely brilliant. I thought he was set for the very top, and then he's got a few bad injuries, a few niggly injuries. So he's only ran twice since last year. But that run last time at Galway, he hammered a really good field. He beat a very good field. And back in third was the eventual Tri-Town winner as well. And he beat them kind of comfortably enough. He comes here, which is a rare old kind of foray for the Hearties. But the reason why they're here is that his horse is owned by Nicky Henderson's sister, who's local to the track here. So I just think at 20-1, he has a massive chance. But the other one I also really like. So I backed him already. I put him up on my article there on gambling.com. But I also like Henry's Friend as well. I think that Ben Pauling is an excellent trainer. Since he's moved yards, his strike rate is actually phenomenal. This horse last season can completely be forgiven. And this is another example of the really strange handicapping that the handicapper in the UK does between Irish horses and UK horses. I mean, Grandero Bello's up to 147 and Senior Chief is up to 151. Henry's Friend runs here off 139 and he won, he's a graded winner last season. Seems kind of very strange. He seems very, very light here, but the main one definitely is Grandero Bello.
Just on the ground, lads, because that was a big factor in my selection. I think obviously Henry's Friend has proven form on nicer ground. And if we had got the rain that I think people initially thought we were going to get at Newbury over the course of the weekend, Gallia de la Toe would have certainly been my selection. I think she's a much better horse on deep ground, and she could still be very well treated off 144. I'm not sure the record that mares would have in this race, but look, she's a big strapping mare. She'll go on softer ground. I'd just be a little bit concerned with the ground for her. And at Newbury, it doesn't look like we're getting much rain. It's good to soft ground, I think, at the moment on the chase track as we're recording. And I don't think we're even due a mill between now and Saturday. That's on the Norwegian weather forecast, lads. I don't know what weather you look at, but that's what I see.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. We just look up at the mountains and judge it from there, Barry. I'm afraid we don't be going to any of those foreign stations for the weather. Right, listen, come here. There are 5 races anyway, and throw down your 5 cast selections in below, and also, of course, subscribe to the Champ.ie podcast. Barry, before we head into the ad break, you're going to lead us into the ad break. But firstly, before we do that, you're going to tell us about some next week's show. We'll be announcing a very lucky winner, won't we, to our prize.
Yeah, we're going to do the draw next week. Look, there's been plenty of entries, obviously, so far this season on the 5cast, David. It's the 5 selections every single week. 2 winners or more qualifies you. And we're going to give away a VIP monthly prize next Thursday, I believe, on the show. So last chance to get involved. We obviously have people who've qualified already, who've got 2 or more winners. And look, if you landed the 5, Dave, you wouldn't be so bad. It's a good little exercise every week and obviously just a part of the show. Now we're going to move on. Before we hear from Darragh O'Keeffe, lads, we will talk about Fairyhouse because the Fairyhouse Winter Festival, a race meeting that I like to get to every single year. There's a foal on the way, lads, so we won't get there this week. Dermot, what do you make of the cards, I suppose, overall?
Serious cards. Handicaps are a little bit they're really tough. I thought it was one of the poorest Portasound now I've seen in a long time. That was previously an absolutely cracking handicap. I think that's a very hard race now, as in it's kind of a low level one. Royal Bond, I thought Romeo Coolio should take a lot of whacking. I thought the Drinmore, Firefox to me is a 2-miler. I think Hartwood will catch him out here just as far as staying goes. And then the Hatton's Grace, God almighty, I have no interest in actually trying to pick one here. It's Teahupoo trying to give away all those pounds to kind of Lossiemouth. I'm happy enough to just sit here and kind of watch that happily. What a race, but yeah, what grade ones they are, Barry, aren't they?
Absolutely. Look, I was tempted to put up the double as the nap this week, lads. Don't like putting up multiples as naps, but genuinely I'm bullish about both Sergino and Lossiemouth. I think the 2 of them will take whack. And look, a lot of people, sitting on the fence about it. £7 off Teahupoo. Look, I get it's like going to Millwall away, though, in fairness. If it turns into any sort of a battle, you'd have to fancy him. But I just think she's just different gravy. And I think over 2 miles, 2.5 miles, she's a better animal than Envoi Pass. I'd be very, very confident on that. And Teahupoo, look, he's plenty of mileage in the legs now as well. I mean, he's running 2 stairs hurdles. Obviously, he's very good fresh. The rain appears to be, looking at Fairyhouse, the weather forecast, lads, the Norwegians are saying 15 mil, Dave. I don't know what the mountains are saying, but
just
look,
give me, I'll get back to you.
Lossie, but I think she's going to take a world of beating. I think she will. I think she'll win.
She also handled that ground, well, kind of near enough to that ground that, the festival last year, she showed she'd no bother with it at all, So yeah, she should take whack, and I've underestimated him always. I just couldn't weigh in there now because he is. It's her first day of big boy school as well,
And just I suppose though, lads, last week we saw Brighter Days Ahead getting the £7 from Stateman. It's kind of a reverse this week, isn't it? From Willie to the Gordon
yeah,
to Willie. You know what I mean? I have to agree with Barry. I think when you look at that poll and the class that we all think that Lossiemouth is going to have for the rest of the season, I think she's going to sluice up. I really do think she's going to be a class act this season. And I think she'll need.
I think we'll be looking back on Saturday evening. Sometimes, look, we saw Honeysuckle in this race on many occasions. I mean, winning without being absolutely ultra impressive.
Yeah.
I think on Sunday afternoon we could be saying, what was that? Genuinely.
Yeah, fair.
Right, we have Darragh O'Keeffe coming up very, very soon, and looking forward to hearing his thoughts on the big weekend. And we've also, of course, before we move on, because we've got just a quick word, I suppose, guys, before we get to Darragh O'Keeffe, let's cover off the King George. Diarmuid, firstly, Willie Mullins, all the horses out at the King George. Big surprise?
Really, yeah, like a real shock here, because he's got a deep enough Gold Cup team there that you would have thought that, he'd fire one. Clearly means that Gaelic Warrior will obviously now he'll be sticking in the 2 mile division, which is absolutely no harm at all. That adds a bit of juice there. El Fabiolo steps up, but the actual King George, I'd say it all points to the fact now that I really like Banbridge in the market. I think he's got a big chance if he can stay, but I think he'll jump around lovely. I hope they just gun him, just go from the front and kind of see what happens there. But I'd say Martin Brazel now, Dave. I'd say he's looking at this kind of saying with fast or slow. I'd say he's sitting there kind of thinking to himself, I could go to an old Lexus here, as it was formerly known, obviously. I could go for that, bump into Factifile, maybe Spillans Tower, maybe Gallopin des Champs, or I could head over and kind of have, this kind of race here. It's not a strong race at all. I'd say they have to be sorely tempted now.
I would think so, Barry.
I wouldn't rule out the possibility of Factifile still being supplemented for the race. Spallan's Tower is a horse that, look, if they're going to keep him over, or if they're going to step him up and trip once again, I could see him going down the Lexus route. I would be surprised if Willie Mullins runs Factifile and Galloping the Champ against each other again, certainly before the Dublin Racing Festival. And I just think there's an opportunity there. He did say it. We saw obviously he was included in the betting with Boylesports this morning for the King George. I could see a world where he could be supplemented for the race. It doesn't look a deep race. Envoi Allen is obviously disappointed there in the past. He's form tied in with last year's winner, Hewick from Down Royal. I just wouldn't be rolling in at 6-1 on Envoi Allen. Grey Dawning for me. I heard people tipping him up for, or basically saying stay with Grey Dawning. You're going to see a better horse. He had an absolute grueler at Haydock last time. I would not be backing him next time.
He shouldn't be running now until Cheltenham in January.
In March.
He needs a lot of in March even. Yeah, no, he needs a good chunk of time now. He really does.
I could not be running behind him, even if he was supplemented for the race. And I mean, then you're down the list. I mean, this is Paul Nichols's race. And I know someone who would respect quite highly in terms of being a judge. And they've taught me to back Ginny's Destiny for this race, and he's 50-1. I think the plan is the Peterborough. Draw a line through his run last time. He's absolutely rubbish first time up, Ginny's Destiny, and has been. He was a real improver last season. If people are fancying Grey Dawning for this race, through the form lines, he was only beaten 2 lengths by him last year in Cheltenham in the Turners. 3 miles, book him out. We've seen Paul Nichols win this race with big price runners in the past. Flodon, a good example. Brave Man's Game. Well, if Harry Cobden picks Brave Man's Game over Ginny's Destiny, I would be surprised personally. And look, he's twice the price. And I can see Nichols throwing a couple of darts at this, and he's 50-1 at the moment. Insane price in my view.
Yeah, it's an insane price, no doubt about it, but it's an intriguing contest coming your way on the 26th of December. Right, we're going to head into our...
Can I just say, Dave, by the way, if Factifile rocks up, obviously you have to take the 50-1 into the equation there.
Yeah, absolutely, Barry. But let's see how it goes in that one. Right, let's head into our ad break. And right after this, we're going to be hearing from Darragh O'Keeffe.
Gowran Park Racecourse, the premier racetrack in the southeast of Ireland, is located on the outskirts of Kilkenny City. Gowran Park is your #1 choice for corporate days out, stag and hen party events, and an overall great local racing experience. Known as the race that stops the county, the famous Goffs Thyestes Chase 2025 takes place on Thursday the 23rd of January. With packed crowds expected once again this January, you can book your early bird tickets online today. Visit gowranpark.ie online, click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description, or scan the QR code on screen to purchase right now. Eddie and the team look forward to welcoming you to Gowran Park this winter.
150 yards to go, Glen Gooley, and ain't that a shame from Angel's Dawn? Ain't that a shame is going on to win the Goffs Thyestes, pulling out every stop from Glen Gooley.
Yes, so delighted to be joined once again on the Champ.ie podcast by a good friend of the show, Darragh O'Keeffe. Third time on the Champ.ie podcast, 44 winners thus far this season, top of the Jockeys Championship. You're absolutely flying it, Darragh.
Yeah, touch wood. We're after a great season. Riding for great people. And having a bit of luck on your side as well, which is most important. So no, it's great. Now we're after. Really delighted with the season, and hopefully we've plenty more to look forward to.
Yes, I'm going to kick off, Darragh, by taking a look at Envoi Allen, obviously a 9-time Grade 1 winner up at Down Royal. He was 7th in the King George back in 2022 on soft ground, of course, on that occasion. With some of the news, of course, some notable absentees in the mark of the King George over the course of the last week. Do you think on his day can be a big player in a race like this?
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, just reading there, some of the, the names that were, I suppose, that were, up there, in the betting for it, have come out of it. So, I think whether they're in it or not, I think he'd be a contender. Like, whichever race he'd line up for, he's that type of horse. Obviously, he's shoving on a bit now, but, he's still showed in Down Royal that he's still able to do it. And, when he did go there before, I think everyone was saying that he mightn't have been fully right on the day. So, look, I suppose I suppose it'd be nice to see him going back over there, and if he turned up in Envoi Allen form, he'd have to have a live chance.
Senior Chief, of course, favourite for the Carl Gold Cup at Newbury, of course, a race to look forward to every single season. Looks, Darragh, to have a lovely profile for the race this weekend.
Yeah, I thought he was very good in Cheltenham. His first run since the Irish national. On the day he did everything very easily. We got a nice start, a nice position, and he jumped well. And he even kind of eyed a little bit when I got to the front after the second last, but kept going well to the line. So he's a real stayer. Obviously it's it's a race that probably might look fairly open to other runnings of it as well. Like there's only 16 left in it. So there mightn't even be a full field running it. But yeah, he definitely seems to have a profile for a race like that, and he's going into after having a good run at Cheltenham. So hopefully he'll have a bit of luck on today.
Yes, and gorgeous Tom, Darragh, of course, 2 from 3 over fences. How much do you think he's improved for a fence? Have you been impressed with him so far?
Yeah, I think he's after improving plenty. Look, he won his beginner's chase in Wexford, but on the day there wasn't many fences jumped with the low lining sun, so he probably didn't learn an awful lot on the day. And then he went to a novice chase in Tipperary and was jumping really well, and then fell going out in the last circuit when he was going really well on the day. But I thought he was very good in Cork the last day. He loves a bit of nice ground. He's in a good straightforward horse, and he's improving. So he quickened up really well in Cork the last day, and he's a horse that kind of, he kind of just does what he has to as well. I genuinely think that there's definitely more to come from, and the nicer the ground, I think will enhance his chances as well.
Of course, looking at last weekend as well, Henry de Bromhead, of course, did unleash some impressive maiden winners. The big Westerner, Darragh, how much did she impress you last weekend?
Yeah, I thought she was very, very good. She travelled nicely. She jumped well. She's a lovely big mare. In fairness, her owners are very lucky with mares, and in fairness, she's she's very well bred and things. But I thought she did things very easily the other day. For a filly to get underneath the last like she did, and I thought at the back of it when I shook her up, I thought she picked up really well again. So. Again, I think there'll be plenty of improvement in her, and I think she's definitely one for everyone to be looking forward to. Even the ground last week, she seemed to handle it well, and I'd say she'd have no problem handling ground in the spring either. For them festivals, so she jumps well, she stays well, and I think she even surprised us how much kind of speed she showed as well. I'd say everyone was kind of thinking that maybe stamina was more her thing, but I thought she showed plenty of gears the other day now in Punchestown as well,
Yeah, sticking with entries, of course, this weekend. Darragh, we Gabriel Leanders, of course, on the Champ.ie podcast last week. And previously trained at Kilgame, of course, who's entered up for Henry de Bromhead, of course, at Fairyhouse this weekend. Have you been impressed with him? Has he been showing you all the right signs at home?
Yeah, I think he's entered the weekend. But he seems to be a nice horse. Seems to do everything nicely at home. So look, hopefully now, as I said, the ground will be nice and safe in Fairyhouse. There hasn't been much rain about this week or that, so hopefully it'll be nice and safe. And I think looking through it, I think he might be on the ballot. So I'm not quite sure whether he'll get in or not to Fairyhouse the weekend. But no, he's definitely one that obviously seemed to have nice form in France. So hopefully now he'll be a good transition to everyone over here.
Yeah, and Darragh, of course, just looking back to the Navan Racing Festival, of course, and some really good racing up at Navan Racecourse on Tri-Town weekend. And a couple that caught the eye, I thought Birdie or Bust, third in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival last season. Did you like her chasing Davy? She seemed to shape with poor promise.
Lovely mare. Obviously she had good form last year, as you said, and I thought she took to chasing really well. She jumped brilliant on the whole, and it was a very good field on the day. So yeah, definitely, I'd say she's one that will come on plenty for us as well. And I'd say she'll have a good campaign this season as well over fences.
Yeah, another horse that seemed to run a really good race there was 40 Coats. Obviously an ace bumper winner from last season, and a good second on his hurdles debut. So it looked a smart type as well in Wingman. how confident are you that he can progress to be a nice horse this season?
Yeah, I think he's a very nice horse as well. A very laid back horse. I'd say there'll be a lot of improvement in him for his next run. He'll come on plenty fitness wise for that, and I thought he's a nice straightforward horse as well. With the winner, I thought he was very good on the day as well, and his bumper form is very good. So I'd say two of them are very smart, and we pulled miles clear of the rest of the field. So I think he'll definitely be one of the exciting ones, I'd say, for the connections for the season ahead as well, in them good novice races.
Must mention Slade Steele as well, of course, Darragh, the Supreme Novice Hurdle winner from the Cheltenham Festival last season. Were you impressed with him on his first start over fences?
I'd say on the day, he jumped the first couple of fences, I thought very well, and then maybe down the back, he got in deep to one, but the horse came up on his inside and he fell, and maybe he lost a little bit of confidence after that, but and then the winner was kind of jumping left up the straight, and maybe Slade Steele was following him a little bit, but no, I think there'll be plenty of improvement in him. With the ground being so good there all winter, any of them good horses really can't school on grass or anything. So I think there'll be a lot of improvement in him, and I'd say you'll see a lot more streetwise horses Slade Steele the next day, I'd say.
Yes, welcome back, and so good to hear from jockey Darragh O'Keeffe as well. We wish him the very best of luck on some of those big rides, and he's having an absolute brilliant season, Darragh O'Keeffe, and let's hope that continues. Right, let's move on in the show, because we still have plenty to talk about, and we'll be hearing from Stephen Thorne in a couple of moments as well, and getting an update on his runners at Dundalk on Friday night. But as we move on, lads, it's the important part of the show. We're coming to the selections, best bets and naps for the weekend. And as our special guest this week, Diarmuid Nolan, going to get you and your thoughts firstly on your nap and your next best pick for the weekend's racing.
Cheers, Dave. Firstly, just kind of one other 12:40 at Newbury on Saturday. Demnat, I think he's much ahead of that mark for Venetia. This is a horse who kind of had a few runs last season, but he is definitely better than his mark here. My best bet is definitely the Paul Nicholls trained. Sorry, my brain's gone blank there. In the Water Slide. Him to me now, he does look. That's in the 154 at Newbury on Saturday. And then my next best is also a Paul Nicholls horse in the 225 at Newbury. That is Liari. So I'd say an each way double now on Paul Nicholls over the weekend will hopefully see us all well.
I think, Barry, with the pink shirt selection on the style from EJ Menswear this week, it could be very easy to know where your nap selection is going to be running this weekend.
We've double napped there, Dave. Look, let's keep it simple. Let's get a nap on the board. I think we went a week without one. So let's go Lossiemouth. I think she will take the world of beating. She wouldn't be running there if she wasn't ready to give a really, really good account of herself. And look, it's not going to be simple, but I think she'll get the job done. So I'm going to nap Lossiemouth 11-8. I think that'll flip-flop myself. And the Changing Man, next best, 5-1 in the market for, of course, the Rehearsal Chase up at Newcastle. I just think it's significant. It's a long journey up, and this horse could be very well handicapped over fences. His jumping is not as bad as his bare form suggests. So for the Tizzards, 30% strike rate at the moment. The Changing Man, 5-1, that represents value. And Excelero is one at 9-1. I just think it's too big a price. Nice racing weight. Could be very well handicapped through the form lines. A Salver, who's rated 143, and obviously had form behind Sergino, of course, last season back in January, of course, of this year. So, yeah, going to go to Excelero for the Jane Williams team at 9-1 for an each way play. And I'm really looking forward to seeing a horse as well in the maiden hurdle on Saturday called Kill Game. If he runs for Rob Core and Henry the Bromhead, the two really nice maiden winners last weekend. I think this is another one with Gabriel Linders on the show course last week, Dave. And this could be a smart novice, I think, this season in the Rob Core colours. That's Kill Game, came from France, finished second in Doyle.
Yes, well, a brilliant week's racing. I'm going to be Mystical Power. I think that's got a massive chance to turn over Sergino as well. So I'm with Lossiemouth and with the Willie Mullins pair for the weekend. Right, before we finish up, we're going to bring in Stephen Thorne into the show. Stephen, of course, from Shamrock Thoroughbreds, who's absolutely flying if the winners are going in, and everything is going very, very well. But we're delighted to have him on Champ.ie once again. Stephen, you're on the road, you're on the move, like your horses, they're moving well at the moment. And you've got two nice runners to look forward to on Friday night at Dundalk.
Yeah, we have a couple out there Friday. 2 in the 1 race there, Volatile Analyst, and Never Shout Never there in the sprint there. So hopefully we might get another one on the board there Friday.
Absolutely. And I suppose just a quick review of the runners on Wednesday. They didn't run all that bad on Wednesday, your runners, Dundalk.
Yes, we had another placed horse there yesterday, Shoot to Kill. It was part of the double there a couple of weeks ago. Ran a good race there yesterday, finished 3rd, and we had Dream Today in the sprint there, finished 5th, ran a little bit keen and gassy through the race, but ran well in this. Is one that'll pop up soon enough. We had Harry's Bar, our old favourite, yesterday. He wouldn't win to the gate, so we've had to do a little bit of work with him there this morning, and hopefully we'll get him back we get him back on target there in a couple of weeks' time.
Absolutely. And Stephen, before we let you go this week, obviously, great opportunity to be involved in the yard, but one particular horse, you've just got a couple of shares left in that. Tell us, obviously, the name of the horse and the amount of shares that you've left in that one.
Yeah, Artful Approach is a horse there that we bought recently at the Horse and Training Sale in Goffs. He's a Galway Festival winner there this year, and I think he's got enough size and scope that'll improve from 3 to 4. And if he winters well, I think it'd be a lovely fun horse to get involved with next year. He's live on our site at the moment. We've about 35% left in him. He's gone down extremely well with our shareholders. There's plenty of new people involved. And he's live on our site there now, shamrockthoroughbreds.com. And through our social media pages there and our website, shamrockthoroughbreds.com, you can get in touch there, and hopefully we'll get a few more new people involved.
Yeah, Stephen, obviously the horses overall, I think we said run to form on the Racing Post website, over 90% over the last couple of weeks. So I suppose perfect judgment. Wanted to ask you about last week, obviously his run and High Time You Won. Both ran good races. Are we likely to see him in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, both horses ran their eyeballs out last Friday for me. High Time You Won, he's been threatening to win now, and I think he's one that'll, hopefully he'll, we just bumped into sort of one on the improve again last week at Donnacha O'Brien's, but he came home like a steam train, and Friday week there's the big mile handicap, the 6th. So hopefully we'll aim him at that, and Perfect Judgment could turn out quickly again next Wednesday. We have him in a lesser grade race, not to 75 mile handicap. So ran well last week, threatening to kind of come there and do damage, but just leveled out, and perhaps maybe the greater race was a bit too strong for him, and we're just going to drop him down in grade. Hopefully, he'll run a better race there next time.
Excellent stuff. Well, Stephen, thanks a million for coming on this week, and best of luck with runners tomorrow night. We'll catch up with you again next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, great to have Stephen on the show. Good luck to him on Friday night in Dundalk. Right, we've got, of course, a great weekend of racing on the way. Don't forget your 5 cast selections, put them in below. If you haven't done so, subscribe to Champ.ie. Good luck. You'll see the 5 races up on your screens. And we've got a brilliant weekend of racing at Fairyhouse. Good luck to all the team there as well and how they get on. A big thank you, Diarmuid, to yourself for coming on the show with us this week, and very insightful thoughts on some of those big races. And also, we've look forward to having you on in the near future once again. Once again, a big thank you to our sponsors, Gowran Park, Boylesports, EJ Menswear, and Shamrock Thoroughbreds. And a big thank you, as always, to Barry. And from all of us here at Champ.ie, let's hope you back plenty of winners this weekend.
From Dundalk to Longchamp, from the Galway races to the Breeders' Cup, Shamrock Thoroughbreds have taken owners all over the world.
Tiger Bell in front, holds them. Later on the scene is Dawn Charger storming home, but Tiger Bell in front and won.
Coming through the centre, Laugh a Minute with a strong challenge on this Laugh a Minute, who goes on in the closing stages to win by like the Laugh a Minute from Fiscal Roots.
But it's Harry's Bar repelling the late challenge of the stable companion Dream Today, and Harry's Bar makes it 6-course wins.
Check out shamrockthoroughbreds.com or click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description to learn more about new racehorse ownership opportunities.